and welcome to another episode of Behind the Bar. I'm your host, as always, Timmy Tayo. And today we're going to be previewing the upcoming Premier League game against Tottenham. And we faced Tottenham twice already this season, losing on both occasions. First in the Premier League, it was 3-0 when they scored that first-minute goal, which I think that game was probably the game that decided Erik ten Hag's fate. And then we met recently in the League Cup in a 7-goal thriller, which saw Tottenham knock Man United out of the Carabao Cup. And this is our third meeting, third and final. And I would hate to see a sweep having lost the first two games like I just referenced. I do think that we owe Tottenham one, and I'm believing that this is going to be the game that we right those wrongs from the last two defeats. We know what Tottenham likes to do. Right? They're going to play a high line. They're going to press us, try to control possession. And yes, they've been ravaged by injuries throughout this season. I kind of feel for Ange Postecoglou, to be fair. He's been famous for saying how he always wins a trophy in his second season. And having recently gotten knocked out of the Carabao Cup and then the FA Cup, I think it's safe to say that he's not going to be winning a trophy this year. And of course, Mathys Tel is probably going to be starting for Tottenham. Man United did pass on him, having balked at the $5 million transfer fee for a loan that Bayern quoted, which Tottenham were happy to pay. And I think Tell's going to be out to prove a point that he was well worth that money and some with a great performance, and hopefully we can kind of keep him and Tottenham under control. I want to go through my predicted 11 of how I think Amorim is going to line up. Of course, starting in goal, it's going to be Onana between the sticks. We know that Altay Bayındır was picked up a knock and didn't play in the FA Cup. He's typically been the Cup goalkeeper, but Onana started in the last game against Leicester. And I think we'll see him again between the sticks against Tottenham. So no surprises there. In the back three, we know that Lisandro Martinez sustained season-ending knee injury, and he's going to be out for the remainder of the campaign. And so starting in the center-back position, I think we're going to see Harry Maguire, who's been really good recently. Yes, he had a couple shaky games, but overall, I think he's one of the few players this season that can hold their heads up high and be proud of the performances that they've put in. And he's one of those players. So he starts for sure in that center-back position. On the left side, we saw Lenny Euro fill in for Martinez over the last couple of games. And I think against Leicester is probably one of his better games that we've seen. And it seems like Amorim does like Lenny Euro, and I can see him starting again in that left center-back position. And then on the right side, I think we're going to see De Ligt. We haven't really seen De Ligt recently. Feel like he's sort of been in and out of the team, and I think Mazraoui ended up playing as the right center back in the last game. But today, Sunday, I think we're going to see De Ligt come into that right center back position. So Maguire, Lenny Euro, and De Ligt. Now the wing backs, and I've said it before, in this system with Amorim, the wing backs are the most important players, the most important positions in this system. Whenever we work the ball into the 10s, typically the wing backs are the ones that provide the width. And that's where the attack seems to really kick into gear. I think we're going to see Patrick Dorgu start this game. There's been a lot made about the fact that he's a left-sided player that started on the right side in his debut and got hauled off at halftime. And I'm hoping that we see him on the left-hand side. But really no surprise. I think when you look at Quenda from Sporting Lisbon, Amorim talked about playing right-sided players on the left side with their ability to come in and switch the field. And I think that's the idea as to why he's playing a right foot on the left side and vice versa. But I think to bed Dorgu in, I think playing him on his stronger side, on the left side, is probably the best way to kind of bed him into this team. He didn't really look as comfortable playing on the right, wasn't really effective at all, and it wasn't a surprise that he came off at halftime. So I'd like to see him start on the left wing back position where he can use his left foot more naturally, get up and down the pitch, and try to affect the game in the final third. So I think we'll see him make his Premier League debut on Sunday. And in the right wing back position, I think we have to go with Ahmad, right? We talked about how those wing back positions are so crucial, especially in the final third. And what we've seen of late is when the ball gets worked into those flanks, having either Mazraoui or Dalot just hasn't worked out. They just haven't been able to create anything because that's not their natural tendency to get into those attacking positions in those half spaces or out on the wing to create. And so I think having Ahmad in that position where his natural instinct is to beat a man, find a player, look for a cross or a shot, I think will bring this attack into life. So going for Ahmad to start as a right wing back to complement Dorgu on the left side. Now, in the pivots, I think we're going to see, of course, Manuel Ugarte start alongside. This is where it's a little tricky because with Bruno, there's two schools of thought, right? There's one argument to be made for playing him in the pivot where he gets to dictate play, where he gets to use his energy in that midfield and help to win the ball back and start attacks and control the tempo. But there's also an argument to be made for him in the 10 position, which is his natural habitat, playing in behind the striker, making things happen in the final third where we really lack that creativity. And I think that if I'm Amorim in this game against Tottenham, I probably want to see Bruno a little bit further up the pitch. So beside Manuel Ugarte, I think I'll rather see Toby Collier in that position. We need the legs. We need the defensive solidity. We need someone who can win their duels. We need someone who's good aerially. So for me, I would play Toby Collier alongside Manuel Ugarte to really be able to shield that defense and just have that defensive solidity in the middle of the park and the legs in the middle of the park. And then further forward in the 2-10s, I would play Kobbie Mainoo, who showed that he has a knack for getting into the box. He's very good at the close control and the dribbling, especially in and around the opposition box and making things happen alongside Bruno Fernandes. So I would play both of them in the 10s. And up top, this is where it's really been a struggle, right? Rasmus Højlund, yes, he hasn't really had the chances, but he's just really struggled with his overall play, whether it's the hold-up play, whether it's the link-up play, back to goal. He seems to be lacking a lot of confidence right now. And of course, we saw Joshua Zirkzee score against Leicester in his last outing at Old Trafford. And I think it's time to give Zirkzee a run of games, especially coming off of that goal he scored in the last game. It would really boost his confidence to get that starting spot and see if he can make it back-to-back goals, which he just hasn't done so far. And so this would be a great time to break that duck, to get 2 goals in 2 games for Joshua Zirkzee. And with the high line that Tottenham like to play, I think it would really suit Zirkzee, right? To get the ball, drop it into those half spaces, and then be able to play in either Ahmad or Dorgu in the wing backs, or facilitate for Bruno and Mainoo in the 10. So I think this game could really suit Zirkzee with his ability to hold up play, to link up play. And I think he's a lot better playing with his back to goal than Rasmus Højlund. Of course, in the second half, you could always bring Højlund in to stretch the field, to run the channels, and provide a little bit more energy off the bench. And so that's who I would go with in this game against Tottenham. Score prediction, both teams tend to always concede. So I'm going to go for a narrow 2-1 win to United. Like I said, we've lost both games to Tottenham this season, and I think this is the game that we finally get some revenge and get 3 points on the board and push ourselves further away from that relegation zone. So that's all for me today. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.